Hello everyone, this is part 20 of What If Naruto was banished and becomes Master Swordsman, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Roof of the stadium. Tsunade and Aizu stood a few feet away eyeing one another. The Anbu and Bolt were behind Tsunade, who was aware of everyone and every movement around her. Captain, take your squad and protect the citizens of this village. Also, eliminate the enemy threat. All villages that are not allied to us are to be taken out immediately. Get as far away from here as possible, you might get killed if you get caught up in this. Tsunade ordered her Anbu squads. Never taking his eyes off Tsunade, Aizu spoke to his squad. She's right, you all might want to get far away from here. However, take out all enemy ninja in the process. You have your orders, move out. The Bolt squad moved out. Tsunade wondered why her squad didn't move and she realized that it was because it was Yugao's squad and she was worrying about Senzairu. Look Captain, don't worry about your fellow Leaf Nin trapped in that barrier. He will be fine, just worry about everyone else. Yugao nodded and raised her hand to the squad behind her. Everyone, move out. The Anbu disappeared from view. Aizu popped his neck. Finally, they're gone. Now we can have some fun without anyone interfering. He turned to Senzairu. You might want to convince her to concede and let the Leaf Village fall under my jurisdiction. Senzairu narrowed his eyes. I would never do that. Where do you think I got my hard head from? I guess my son gave you my answer. The Hokage said with a proud smirk. Aizu shook his head. Can't say I didn't try. No matter, I will end this now. Whenever you're ready. Tsunade gave him the green light to attack. The two glared at one another as their power began to rise. In the stands, Kakashi flipped over a nin and planted a knife in his neck. When he landed, he performed a 180 turn avoiding a kunai piercing his neck. He then placed a kunai in the back of the neck of his attacker. Guy planted a kick in the stomach of one man sending him flying. The other attacker tried to sneak up behind him, but a strong back-handed fist stopped him completely. Kakashi and Guy were back to back. The spandex-clad Junin smiled. So, how many Kakashi? 8. You? He asked. You outdo me once again, rival Kakashi. I only have 6. Guy said. Kakashi looked at the incoming shinobi. No time for that, we have to take care of business. Let's go. Yes, the two Junin vanished from the view of a number of rain, cloud, mist, and rock shinobi. Meikinu and the others reached Akuru and Yasumi. Both girls were avoiding battle. This was due to Anko's orders. He grabbed Akuru's hand. We have to find Konohamaru-kun and aid him in helping the civilians get to safety. Anko landed next to the kids and performed fire release that burned all of the shinobi in her path. She looked back. What the hell are you guys doing here? It doesn't matter, stay down, okay? Ranpu spoke. We can't do that, we were assigned a mission by Shikamaru. Tenzu used one of his wood jutsus to pierce a shinobi coming up from his blind side. He then landed on the wood sticking out of the ground. Shikamaru gave you a mission, well then get going. A Junin has ordered you, just be careful and watch each other's back. This isn't a simulation, it's the real thing. Anko saw that Shikamaru was surrounded. She leaped forward, propelling herself to the front of the stadium seats, scoring a kick on a shinobi who jumped onto the rail only to land flat on his back on the exam's battle stage. When she landed, she used dual snake hands to bite the shinobi attacking from both sides, causing each to become paralyzed due to the venom. She turned back and yelled, "Get going already." They all ran out of the stadium with Ranpu leading the way with his Byakugan. Anko jumped into the ring, appearing next to Shikamaru to provide support. Looks like you could use some help. Not really, but thanks anyway, Shikamaru said to the kunoichi. Daki was going to enjoy this. I'm going to have fun with you guys. Anko stepped forward. Bring it on. Anko and Shikamaru were attacked by Daki and the others, engaging in a kunai duel to a standstill. Not too far from Kakashi and Guy, Asuma and Kurenai were taking down enemy nins easy enough. He glanced at Shikamaru to see if he was okay. So far so good. He cursed Senzairu for acting on his feelings. His friend knew better. Now the Leaf couldn't use his power because of his foolishness. He didn't have time to complain, he had shinobi to take out. Kurenai turned to Asuma, don't worry, Shikamaru and Senzairu will be fine. We just have to get rid of these guys. Planting his knife in the stomach of one, then kicking him off, he turned to Kurenai, easier said than done. The two continued to battle shinobi after shinobi, both praying for their friend's safety. Outside of the village, Naya was surrounded by enemy shinobi. One spoke, traveling with the Hyuga, I can only assume you're an ally to the Leaf. Don't worry, we will kill her soon enough and the guy with her. It's time you die, lady. Strands of hair masked Naya's eyes. If the shinobi surrounding her could see her eyes, they would know that she was going to enjoy this. With speed and agility, Naya attacked a shinobi behind her with a punch to the stomach. She flipped over his back, avoiding the kunai aimed at her, which hit the shinobi she flipped over, killing him. A Doton javelin shot at her, but she front flipped over it into the air. Once in the air, she vanished into nothing but dust. Before one could yell out, Naya's was standing on his neck. She kicked off the nin, who hit the ground due to his broken neck, landing in a handstand position. Pushing off, she avoided the Doton used to trap her hands. Landing in a crouching position next to one of the shinobi, she avoided the sword that he thrust toward her heart by using the shunshin. Appearing behind him, she heard his body hit the ground as she slit his throat. A kaiten came at her from behind, but she avoided it. The four remaining shinobi were searching for her location. Naya was sitting on a tree branch swinging her legs. Come on guys, I know you are better than this. Seriously, someone like me should be child's play to you strong men. They turned their attention to Naya, anger evident on their faces. Here they thought they would be done with her, but they were actually fighting for their lives. Naya smiled at them, she got them where she wanted them. She was in their heads. Even if she didn't get into their heads, she would still have won. These guys were weak, chunin or low-level junin at best. She would play around with them a little more, but not too much that she got careless and gave them an opportunity to capitalize. She decided to taunt them some more. So are you guys going to sit here all day or what? Who's brave enough to ask for a dance? One summoned a Fuma Shuriken. This caused Naya to raise an eyebrow. The said shinobi threw the Fuma Shuriken at her with full force. Naya shunshined out of her seat, leaving the branch she was sitting on to get severed along with several other branches until it disappeared out of view. Appearing behind all of them, Naya engaged them in hand-to-hand combat. One kicked at her head, but she blocked with her arm and hit him under his leg with her free hand. She then used that hand to block an incoming punch from her left. She brought her right hand forth and struck him with an open palm. Ducking under the punch aimed at the back of her head, Naya did a leg swipe, only bending down slightly with her right hand balancing her. She did a flip off of the stomach of the nin. She tripped to avoid the slash from the sword aimed her back. Naya moved into a backhand spring sequence until she was a distance away from the shinobi. She executed her plan flawlessly. The ones that she scored a hit on did not realize that she had slapped a sticker with a seal on them. The only one she didn't try to get was the missed shinobi because she knew it would be ineffective against him. The shinobi that were hit by her attack got off of the ground. They were ready to attack, but the missed shinobi stepped forth with his sword. You're pretty good, but we got you cornered and you have nowhere to run. Naya brought her hands together and all of the shinobi that she made contact with fell to the ground in pain. They had no clue what was going on. Naya proceeded to explain before one typically asked what she did. Before you struggle to ask what I did, the seal that I placed on you has closed off your chakra. There are two ways to cancel my chakra containment seal. 1. An expert at sealing jutsus cancels it, or you have to be strong enough to the point where you can cancel it yourself. Junin can cancel it with ease. Some chunin can, and well, I'm sure there are a few genin, but a very small number. I guess you guys know where you stand as far as your power level. The missed shinobi spoke, so why didn't you put it on me? I know it's because I'm your equal and such a technique wouldn't work on me. Naya shook her head. That's not it. I'll admit, it wouldn't work on you, but I knew that off the bat. However, we aren't on the same level at all. The fact of the matter is you are weaker than I. Knowing that such a seal wouldn't work on you is why I had something else in mind for you. Naya jumped up to the high branch and looked down on him with a smile. The missed shinobi saw the trees around him each had a weird kanji carved in them that was glowing green. The whole area turned into a green barrier. Naya addressed all the shinobi encased in the barrier. For you I made something much stronger. He looked at her as realization dawned on him as he realized who she was. The only person he knew that was a master at the seal arts was the strongest Junin in his village. The only other person who could utilize seals this effectively was none other than, "You're the seal mistress, aren't you?" Guilty as charged. "I'm sorry kid, but you never really had a chance against me. You may be an excellent shinobi, but your sword skills suck. I've fought with and against members of the Seven Swordsmen, the late great Manashu clan, and a slew of others. The style you're using is a watered-down version of Seiki Kaito's. I'm not going to kill you kid, I'll be back for you after the war. Sit tight and don't touch the barrier or you'll be burnt to a crisp." Quote. "Hey, why did you keep us alive and not the shinobi from the rain?" the mist shinobi asked. She looked at the three other mist shinobi on the ground, then at him. "Simple, you never had any intention to kill me. Your Mizukage forced you and a few others here to be a part of this. Those three shinobi attacked to kill, you attacked to injure and subdue. I guess it's the reason why you are out here with you friends attacking a lady you thought you can contain until this all blows over. Am I right?" He turned away. "Yes. Turning back to Naya, but you should have killed us. Who's to say that we won't kill you if we get free?" "Well, sure you can try, but seeing as I dispatched you 4 easily, do you really want to take the chance? Besides, you don't want to kill me. I guess it's safe to say that you are among the division that supports Kaito." The shinobi put his head down. He looked back at Naya with stern look. "Mizukage-sama is scum. Kaito-sama should be the true ruler of Kiri. That man is the worst of the worst. Poverty, famine, disease, are all things that plague our lands. His only concern is Kaito-sama. That's why he searches for him relentlessly, but fails time and time again to find him. I never wanted to attack the leaf, none of us did. This isn't our war. We have our own shit to deal with, but Mizukage doesn't care for his people. Opposing him means death, so we play by his rules to survive. If what you say is true," he threw the sword in his hand to the ground, "then you truly aren't my enemy, Mizukage is." His friend on the ground spoke. "What are you saying? You will be executed if the Mizukage finds you're not with him. Remember the plan, man. Get stronger, then overthrow him." "Shut up. Did that work for Zabuza-san?" He was the only one of the 7 swordsmen to attempt a coup d'etat, and look where it got him. He had to flee. This is the perfect opportunity to kill him now. We can usher in a new era for our village. Maybe even find a cure for my sister. The shinobi dropped to his knees. "Please, let Kaito-sama win." Naya felt bad for them. Well, she just hoped that Kaito would be okay. "Don't worry, I will come back for you later. The barrier will wear off in 3 hours if I'm not back." Naya left the mist shinobi and was on her way to the stadium. When she got a distance away, she was surrounded again, but this time by a bunch of Iwa nins. She just sighed. Will I ever reach the stadium? She couldn't worry about that now. She had a number of nins to get by first. Somewhere in the woods outside of Konoha, Kaito was standing waiting. He suspected that it would only take a few minutes before the Mizukage arrived to confront him. The Leaf Cloud War provided him with that opportunity. Either way it went, it would end here today between him and the Mizukage. It's been close to 13 years since he was last in Kiri, charged for a crime that he didn't commit, which was the assassination of the Yondime Mizukage. When he fled, Zabuza, the youngest to ever join the 7 swordsmen, at the age of 17, whom he took under his wing, was devastated when he fled 2 years after his joining. Zabuza vowed that he would change the mist and bring him back. 2 years later, Zabuza himself fled the village after his failed attempt to kill the Mizukage. A year before that, Kisame fled the village as well because of his association with the rebellion and the murder of corrupt members in his country. Now that he thought about it, maybe he should have fought instead of running, or maybe he should have tried to convince the remaining swordsmen to come with him. He don't know how that would have worked with Kisame and Reiga. Those two hated each other with a passion. But at least they would have been alive and wouldn't have pursued their own ways to gain the power to overthrow Mizukage. He suspected that was Kisame's reason for joining Akatsuki, and he knew that Zabuza hooked up with Gato to gain the resources to form the army he would need. It was mind-boggling, how someone they once called friend, someone they once called comrade, someone they once called a member of the 7 swordsmen, betrayed them all. How could he be so blind to not see his motives? Now that he thought about it, Tara's death, the only female member of the squad, was because she figured out his motives and tried to warn him. It was only after she investigated Fugu's death 4 months before the Mizukage's death. When Tara was killed a few weeks before Yondai Mizukage was killed, that's when his suspicions were confirmed. Tara was onto something and she was silenced for it. Lo and behold, weeks later the Mizukage was murdered and he was accused. He had no choice but to leave, all of the evidence pointed towards him committing the crime. With him, Fugu, Kisame, Reiga, Zabuza, and Tara out of the way, the current Mizukage was free to do what he wanted with no one able to stop him. Today was the day. No more running, no more hiding. It was time he confronted him to avenge Tara and Fugu's death, salvage what family life he did have, and free Mist from his tyrannical rule. He would wait, because after today, there would be only one from his 7 alive, only one. In the village, Neji wasn't wasting time taking down shinobi after shinobi. The fact of the matter was there were more than he had imagined. The leaf was overrun with enemy shinobi. The sand was standing strong but he saw many of the Kusa nin and waterfall nins fall by the waist side. He couldn't worry about that though, his focus was to keep his squad and the civilians alive. Everyone on his squad was doing great. He watched as Lee took out a group of rock shinobi with leaf strong wind, he saw Tenten slaughter dozen of nins with her rising dragon. Shino was probably the last person he would worry about, that guy would probably be the leader if he wasn't so quiet. Ino was also doing well, she was taking care of business point blank. Neji ducked under an attack and struck 2 attacking shinobi causing them to fall dead beneath him. He spoke into the mic in his mask, "Boar, what's going on? We need to clear this area so we can transport the civilians out of their houses and shops." "I know, Hawk, I'm working on it, it's just there are too many," Neji was inclined to agree. Lee on the other hand was enthusiastic about this whole ordeal. "What are you talking about guys, this is great practice. We have a chance to show what we are made of. Wouldn't you agree, Blue Steel?" Tenten was the next person Neji heard. "I'm sorry, Iron Fist, but Boar is right, there are too many. No matter how many you take down more comes up. Area cleared, civilians coming your way, Hawk." Neji wasn't surprised by Shino at all. "Okay, my area is cleared. I'm just waiting on Boar," Neji informed. Ino yelled through the mic, "My area is now cleared, are you happy? Send them through, Hawk." Red Fang, "What about your area, is it cleared?" Neji heard Kiba voice next, "Yes, has been for a while. The civilians here are already safe. I sent him to Blue Butterfly, and he has escorted them to safety. We just need to clear the rest of the southern section of Konoha, which is up to you guys. Compared to what's going on at the stadium, we got it easy." Neji spoke as he signaled the Chunin and the Genin helping the civilians to go. "What do you mean?" "I mean it was crazy. Gaara and some ball-head nin from Rock are off somewhere. Senzaru is trapped in a barrier, Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai-sensei, and Asuma are all fighting in the arena. Shikamaru was surrounded by a bunch of shinobi last time I seen him and Sakura, I just got a glimpse of her rushing out of the stadium. Tsunade ordered us to leave, had we stayed we would have been caught up in their battle. Not to mention that we are losing a lot of shinobi, we're being overwhelmed." Kiba informed Neji. Neji didn't like what he was hearing. The enemy was advancing too quickly. The stadium was flooded according to Kiba. Neji spoke to Yugao, "Moonflower, are you there? I'm listening to you guys. But I'm busy fending off shinobi. I assume all of you are okay if you are talking. Well, since that is the case, I suggest you all work harder and neutralize this threat ASAP. We rendezvous in 15. All of our teams, I will be leading captain. Is that clear, Hawk?" Yugao said in a more authoritative and agitated tone than usual. Understood. Neji suspected it had to do with Senzaru being encased in a barrier, which he could now see with the activation of his Byakugan again. He was searching for his clan. The Hyugas were fighting and taking down shinobi as well. He smiled when he saw Hinata coming from the west. She would be able to provide support to them and the rest of the village. He spotted Hanabi close to Chuji's area with Yumi and Hayami. He was shocked that he didn't see Mai, but now that he thought about it, he hadn't seen Yumi's mother in a while. The only people he couldn't find were Naruto and Sasuke. Where the hell was the Uchiha and Naruto? Naruto was out of the village so he knew his reason, but Sasuke, where the hell was he at a time like this? Neji's eyes widened when he saw that Cloud Kunoiki and a group of shinobi heading Hanabi's way. He yelled through his mic, "Butterfly, Hanabi, Yumi, and Hayami are coming your way and they're being tracked. Get to them, behind you." Before Chuji could say anything, he was knocked unconscious. Kadan was standing over him. He turned to Kumoko, "I cleared the path, let's go and get this over with." She nodded and they moved out with the rock nins and rain nins under their control. Neji spoke, "Red Fang, get to Butterfly, he needs your help." Ino was now concerned for Chuji, Yumi and Hayami. "Hawk, what happened? Hanabi and the others are about to be attacked. We can't leave our post." "Don't worry Ino, Hanabi is a good shinobi, they should be okay," he said to comfort Ino. Yugao spoke once more, "The faster we finish here the faster you guys can help your friends." They all agreed it was time to give their all to help the others. On the other side of the village, Hanabi had her Byakugan active. She cursed their luck, Kumoko was right on them. She turned to Konohamaru, "We have to buy Ranpu and the other genin some time." He looked at Makinu, "Well, I'm leaving it to you guys. Get Hayami-chan and Yumine-chan out of here." Makinu looked at Konohamaru, "Are you going to be okay?" Konohamaru gave him a thumbs up. "Of course, how can the Rokudaime die when hasn't even taken office yet? We will be fine now, go on." Yumi nodded at Konohamaru. Hayami didn't want to split up, she was afraid she wouldn't see him again. Konohamaru put a hand on her shoulder, "Don't worry, you have to go. Naruto Nisan will be here any minute and I'm sure he wants to see you and Yumi-chan alive. I'll be okay." The girl nodded, understanding she had to go. When Konohamaru motioned for them to move and stay within the shadows, he looked at Hanabi, Mogi, Udon and Matsuri, who they met up with while fleeing the stadium. Appearing in the middle of the road, he saw Kumoko and Kadan standing in front of them with a few shinobi from Cloud. Kadan spoke, "They were the ones protecting those girls. Kumoko, go after them. We will deal with them and catch up." "Sorry, but you won't be catching up with anyone." Kadan looked up to see Sasuke staring at him from his location on the roof of a local establishment. Kumoko quickly left. Sasuke didn't give her chase, Konohamaru did that. He was going to order him to anyway, but the boy read his mind. However, the other shinobi with them went after him. He addressed Hanabi, "Hanabi, you and your group go after him. Stop them at all cost." Hanabi and the other disappeared from view. Sasuke now had Kadan to himself. His goal was to beat this guy and find out where Kuin was. He wanted to fight him. For some reason Kuin had a strength about him that would test his abilities. "So, where is your friend, that blue-haired nin? I was actually looking for him, mind telling me." "Well, I don't know where Kuin is. But it doesn't matter, I'm your opponent. Maybe if you beat me, I will tell you. When I beat you, eh? That sounds like fun." Sasuke grinned, showed his excitement. "Bring it on, Uchiha Sasuke." Kadan returned the grin, showing his excitement as well. Without any more words to say, Sasuke and Kadan disappeared from their spots. The battle was on. At the stadium, Tsunade really didn't have anything to say to this man, but she asked, "Are you sure you want to play it out like this, Aizu?" "Whenever you're ready, Tsunade." She closed her eyes then reopened them. "Very well." Tsunade used a speed only displayed by a few ninjas in the world, mostly those of cage level. Her punch aimed at Aizu's face missed by an inch. He was no fool, he knew of her power. But he figured that's all she was. Though he had the advantage, but when he went to kick she blocked it much to his surprise. She threw another punch which he blocked, but the force of the punch caught him off guard and sent him back a few feet before he stopped. "Wow, I really underestimated you, Tsunade," he said, seeming to enjoy this. "Underestimating me will be your downfall," the Hokage said in a fighting stance. "You're right, one shouldn't underestimate a Sannin. I guess I will be getting decent fight here after all." Doing hand seals at a speed only Tsunade and Senzaru could follow, Aizu shot a stream of flame at Tsunade, who used the tile on the stadium as shield. She then used them as shuriken. Aizu avoided them by moving so fast that he was behind Tsunade. Sensing his presences, Tsunade performed a back kick which was avoided with ease and followed up with a punch. Tsunade caught the punch. She then balled up her free hand to punch Aizu in the stomach, but being prepared, he used one foot block the punch and planned to kick her in the chest with the other. Seeing his plan, she jumped back, releasing him. Standing 5 feet away, Tsunade couldn't help but notice his skill. This guy was good. His taijutsu was excellent. He knew her power and adapted and fought accordingly. Not only was his taijutsu good, so was his ninjutsu. She knew that just by seeing the damage that his fire dragon flame missile caused and how effectively he used it. She couldn't make a slip up with him. Tsunade, who still had on the Hokage robe, removed the robe and threw it to the wind. She was now wearing a slight variation of her everyday outfit. The difference was her GI, which was now blue and long-sleeved with a white waistband. Also, her heels were traded for the sandals that were worn universally by every shinobi. Another thing that was visible was the Shodime necklace around her neck. Aizu was glad she was finally taking this serious. He too removed his robe, revealing a black sleeveless GI, held together by a red sash, black sweatpants and matching color sandals. Both warriors were now ready to take it up a notch. Senzaru was trying to figure a way out of the barrier. The sealing techniques that he tried weren't working. He knew that the only way to free himself from this technique was to have it unsealed from the outside. He cursed himself for acting on impulse. He couldn't even protect her. He would have to sit and watch those shinobi holding the barrier, and Aizu better pray he doesn't get free. There is going to be hell to pay. Anbu Central Tower. Ibiki was standing on the balcony with a few Junin and Chunin under his command. It was like the sound invasion all over again, but this time it seemed to be much more than they could handle. He was watching as 3 summons head toward the village. This isn't good. A Chunin landed next to him. Ibiki-san, it seems that shinobi have penetrated far into the village. Civilians are being evacuated, but the Anbu squads are having trouble because they are fending them off and can't focus on the civilians. About half have been evacuated and the other half is in transportation. I suspect it would be a slow process, but by the time we can counter-strike it's going to be too late. Where are our allies? Ibiki asked. All over the village and outside of it. Ibiki-san, what do you want me to do? Nothing. We have to hold that iguana, hedgehog, and that crayfish at bay. Direct all of you attacks there. We could really use Sasuke's or Sakura's summoning ability. But I assume they are doing what they can and we have to do what we can. Get ready. Ibiki looked at his men, the incoming animals. This was going to be a very, very long day. Ibiki and his group headed out. Inside the village, Meikinu and the other genin were trying to get him to the stone face monument undetected. From where they were standing, battles between shinobi from the Leaf and other villages were taking place. He knew the dangers of shinobi life, he even read about wars, but to be in one and the danger associated with it was exciting and scary at the same time. Holding Hayami's hand while running, he looked back at the girl. Don't worry, we're home free. Meikinu turned back face forward only to come to a dead stop. The other genin were cut off by Kumoko and the group of rain and rock shinobi. Ranpu, Meikinu, Akuru, Yasumi, Futeki, and Yugen lined up side by side with Hayami and Yumi behind them, forming a wall. Kumoko spoke. Well, it seems that I got you now. I'm going to so enjoy this. She took step closer, but Konohamaru and his friends appeared in front of the genin. Konohamaru, whom was standing in the middle, addressed the genin. We got this, and you guys get out of here. Konohamaru, you're okay. I'm glad, Hayami said in a relieved tone. Well, Sasuke is the reason behind that. You go on and get out of here. Ranpu didn't hesitate. He grabbed Yumi and Meikinu grabbed Hayami and they were gone. Kumoko went after her, but Konohamaru cut her path off. Sorry, but I still owe you for those kunai in my back. Her eyes narrowed. I'm going to kill you. He slipped into a fighting stance. Be my guest. The other 6 shinobi from Cloud were in front of the remaining 4 Chunin. Hanabi activated her Byakugan. Udon was now in his fighting stances, along with Matsuri and Mogi. Hanabi was not going to play around. She knew Konohamaru was good, but that lady was a Junin and she had to be good. She would utilize her Juken to its fullest and get rid of them quick. Matsuri threw a kunai that set of the battle. Hanabi was battling 2 shinobi, one she took down fairly easy. Poor guy didn't know about the Juken. The one who engaged Mogi yelled to his comrade, she's a Hyuga, try to avoid her strikes or you might die. Hanabi appeared behind the shinobi that was warned. Too late. She aimed at his back with an open palm. She had intended to send chakra to stop his heart, but he quickly avoided, much to her surprise. So you're faster than you look. Good. At least this will be interesting. Hanabi went on the offensive. Konohamaru was not doing so well against Kumoko. She was far better than he thought she would be. He underestimated her, something he regretted doing. He dodged a kick aimed at his head but was unsuccessful with the punch that sent him crashing into a nearby building. He jumped up immediately but instead of Kumoko, he encountered one of the two shinobi that Udon was fighting. Kumoko, who was on the opposite building laughing at the situation, "Take care of him, okay?" "Yes, Kumoko-san." When he told her he would take care of him, she left the scene instantly. Konohamaru knew that he couldn't give chase. This nin in front of him would make sure of that. "Meikinu, Ranpu, Akuru, you're on your own. Give it your best." Konohamaru readied himself for the incoming attack by the Cloud Shinobi. Hyuga compound. The Hyuga clan wasn't having much problem fending off the attacks. There were too many shinobi attacking them though, it seemed as if it was planned this way. While all the other Hyugas were doing respectively well, with a few incurring minor injuries, Hiashi wasn't doing too well. He was facing off against a Cloud Shinobi that seemed to taunt him at every turn. "I don't know why you Hyugas are so revered. You are all scum. When Azu-sama told me I would be in charge of the division responsible for attack and extermination of the Hyuga clan, I was more than thrilled. It's because of your former head that my father was killed." He's talking about Gashira. That's his father. He doesn't know I was responsible for his father's death. Fate is cruel. I kill his father and now he stands before me, maybe even stronger. No, this kid is weak. I will prove it. Hiashi slipped into the Yukan stance. Roba laughed. "You think you can beat me with that? You won't land a hit to do any damage, that much is certain." Hiashi ignored the kid. The reason being, he was within range. Slipping into position to perform Hak Rokuju Yon Sho. Roba jumped in the air, shot a few fireballs at Hiashi. The Hyuga was forced to perform Kaiten to parry the attack. When Hiashi came to a stop, he searched for Roba. He saw him coming from his backside on the left through his Byakugan, but he didn't have enough time to dodge. When Roba went to strike, a foot in his jaw sent him a short distance. Instead of landing on his back, he pushed off of his backhand and landed to see the one responsible for him not claiming Hiashi's head. The one who stopped him was a young Hyuga girl with a loose-fitting beige V-neck short-sleeve shirt and black spandex with match-colored sandals. Hinata's hair was blowing in the wind as she was standing in front of her father. Hiashi wondered what she was doing here and how come he didn't see her. All he saw was something moving so fast that he couldn't register what or who it was. "What are you doing, Hinata?" "I'm sorry I wasn't here earlier, father, but I had things that I needed to do." "Are you okay?" a concerned Hinata asked. "Yes. Stand aside now, you can't take this guy on, he's too strong," Hiashi said as he stepped forward. He wasn't expecting her to cut off his path. "Sorry father, but you can't continue. I will take it from here." "Rest father, I will do the rest." "Hinata," I said, "move aside." "How can you?" Hinata spoke in a calm manner. "I can win. Please father, just watch. I will show you how strong I truly am." Hiashi was hesitant, then he decided to see what she had. "Whatever, just don't die." Roba laughed at the girl. "How noble, protecting your father, but no matter what he will die. Right after I kill you." Hinata took the Yukan stance. "I wouldn't underestimate me. You and your group attacked my family and you almost killed my father. I will not show you any mercy." "I never expected mercy from you," Roba said. He figured this fight would be much easier than the one he had with Hiashi. How wrong he was. Hinata didn't waste time. She performed hand seals at a rapid pace, a pace so fast that Hiashi was a little surprised. Hinata performed the false surrounding genjutsu. The area changed to a desert land, from Roba's point of view. He didn't know where the girl was. Not to worry, he thought, a jutsu of this level wouldn't work. Pulling a kunai from his holster, he slashed the area on his right side. A thin line formed in the invisible area, causing blood to spill from it. The attack caused the genjutsu to fade. Roba had to block the palm strike that came from Hinata, who now had a thin cut on her cheek, but he blocked it at her forearm, avoiding the palm thrust. Hinata followed up with another strike, but this was avoided as well. Roba created distances between him and Hinata. Plunging his hands into the ground, a stone wall rose in front of him. Doing more hand seals, the wall broke up into sharp pieces of stone, earth-style, flying stone dagger. The daggers of stone flew at Hinata. Instead of doing kaiten, she shielded herself with Shugo Hack. Roba was almost expecting her to do that attack so he could use that time to get within striking distance. She had surprised him greatly. He wasn't worried, he believed he was faster and stronger. When all of the stones were deflected and Hinata stopped her jutsu, he said, "Well, it seems you are not like the other Hyugas I've encountered. You're actually good." Hiashi was watching Hinata in awe. Sure, she won against Hanabi, but he never saw her like this, not even in her battle with Hanabi. His daughter was good, really good. That's something he knew, even when she didn't. He blamed her mostly for her mother's death because of his own inability to protect her. He saw his beloved wife in Hinata so much that it pained him to even look at her. She took everything from you, Yuri. Your looks, your gentle nature, everything she has is from you. When she was first born, it was one of the proudest days of my life. I saw greatness in her eyes, but I was a little disappointed when she wasn't like Neji, a genius among geniuses. I was a little envious, so I pushed her, but you told me to ease up. She would become a wonderful shinobi, and I did, believing you were right. His eyes soften as he watched Hinata battle. You were wrong, but I have myself to blame for that, I suppose. After you were killed, I was much harder on her and I didn't understand why I hated her so much. I started hating her so much to the point I blamed her for your death. You're probably ashamed of me right now, I know, so am I. Every mistake she made, I made her feel worthless. When Hanabi was old enough, I just ignored her completely. But no matter how hard I tried, whenever I looked at her, it was your eyes staring back at me. I thought I would get over you by sending her to death by taking missions with that QB brat. I even thought relegating her to the branch house would make it right, but it didn't. She did something I never thought she would do, she fought back. A small smile formed on his face, and like you, she finds solutions to problems that others overlooked. I missed out so much on her growth because she reminded me of you. In the process of trying to shut you out, I shut her out, a major piece of my heart. Watching our daughter now, it's like I'm seeing her for the first time. The way you always saw her, the way I should have saw her. Please forgive me, Yuri, and please forgive me, Hinata. Roba decided to end this little battle between him and Hinata. The girl was good, but he was better. Not wasting any time, he appeared in front of her and slashed at her throat with a kunai. She avoided by ducking, but the end tips of her hair had gotten severed. Pulling out a kunai of her own, she performed an upward slash that was ultimately blocked by his kunai. Having the advantage, he aimed a kick to her head that connected. Skidding on her back in the dirt, as soon as she came to a stop, she propelled herself up into a back flip by using her hands to push off of the ground. She felt the pain in her cheek. That kick really hurt. She wasn't underestimating him at all. The fact was she saw the kick but couldn't react to it. Hiashi saw the cut on her cheek and her newly formed bruise on the other. He was about to step in, but Hinata yelled out, "Father," I said, "let me do this. Please." He saw the pleading look in her eyes. He couldn't help but hate himself more. She was doing this to prove herself. He was about to speak, but she cut him off. "Don't interfere, father, I will win. Just give me a chance." Hinata pleaded. She didn't know if he was listening to her. Her father was hard to read. When he nodded, she had her answer. "All right, I will refrain from interfering regardless of what happened." "Thank you, father." Hinata got back on her feet, then wiped her lip. The much taller Cloud Shinobi addressed Hinata. "You know, this reminds me of the Manashu genocide. I can see it. It's going to play out the same way. It won't go the way you want it to go. I'll make sure of it." She still had an ace up her sleeve and she was going to reveal it. Widening her leg stance, she brought her arms together in an X shape with her index fingers extended. Hiashi was slightly surprised to see what he did. He hadn't seen these seals in years. So she has gravity seals, interesting. A purple outline of aura traced around her body. The purple seals were now exposed. In a matter of seconds the seals faded. Hinata formed the hand sign to make Kage Bunshin. "Here is a trick I picked up from Naruto-kun." Hinata created 3 clones, which moved quickly to surround him completely. Not really impressed, he looked at the clones, then at the girl. "So you use seals and now you can create 3 clones, whoop-die-doo. You fail to understand what I just did. Those seals didn't give me power, they were gravity seals." Gravity seals. The expression on his face illustrated that he had no idea what she was talking about. Hinata explained, "Imagine this, if you will. What happens if you fight someone you're normally equal footing with, so what happens if they are wearing weighted clothing? The answer is you have the advantage. But if they remove that weighted clothing? He finally understood, you mean. Yes, that's the general idea. With my seals on you had a small advantage, but now that they're off you have no advantage. Hinata informed the surrounded shinobi. Don't get cocky little girl, I'm still in control. All 4 Hinatas slipped into the Yukin stance with the Byakugan activated. Actually, you're not. You fail to realize that you are now within range. Quote. She's in position to rip him apart with Kaiten or perform the 64 palms. She has the advantage. Hiyashi was right. Hinata would use a combo that would end everything. She watched as Roba looked around cautiously. Not having time to react, the Hinata behind him used Neji's empty palm, knocking him off balance. The Hinata on the right used this opportunity to perform the 64 palms, 2 strikes, 4 strikes, 8 strikes, 16 strikes, 32 strikes, 64. She used an open palm on the last strike that sent him to the clone on the left. Roba couldn't feel his chakra. What the hell, I can't access my chakra. That bitch. He didn't have much time to complain because the Hinata on the left did a flip and was now standing on her hands. Using her arms for power, she pushed off and planted both her feet into the man's back, sending him upward. Roba felt the pain all over. All he managed to do was look at clone that was behind him and the original Hinata who was in front of him, appear on both his left and right. With a look of panic in his eyes, he started to plead, don't, have mercy. Hinata wasn't listening. She said, you fought well. With that said, she performed the Kaiten. Grinded between both Kaitens, all that could be heard was his screams. Coming to a stop, Hinata made a slow descent to the ground. When she landed, all of her clones dispersed. Resting on one knee, she was breathing slightly heavy. Only a few seconds after landing, Roba landed a few feet away from her. Laying on his back with his eyes and mouth wide open, it was evident he was dead. Hiyashi looked at Hinata. She's even stronger than I am, but how? Did she always have this power? Hinata saw the shadow of the approaching person. When she turned around, her father was looking at her with an unreadable expression. She knew that expression too well. She put her head down. He hates me for showing my skill. Here it comes, he's going to scold me. Hinata was proven wrong for the first time. Hiyashi offered the girl his hand. Hinata looked up to see that he still had the same blank expression, but something his eyes had changed. She didn't know what it was, but whatever it was, she was glad. She accepted his hand and he pulled her up. When she was standing completely, Hiyashi spoke, that was a good combination. You have come a long way. Hinata nodded, I guess. We still have to help the others though. He nodded, right, let's get going. About to take a step to go to the other section of the compound, they were surrounded by shinobi from Rock and Rain Village. Hiyashi looked at Hinata, looks like we have more to take care of. You take the ones on the left, I will take the ones on the right. Okay father, just don't push it, okay, you're still injured. Hinata said with concern. The same could be said about you. Whatever, don't worry. Just show them why you are the clan head's rightful heir. But I thought, Hinata was cut off. Yes, but you still haven't forfeited your position to be heir. Just because you're not a shinobi of the leaf doesn't mean you're not a Hyuga. Hinata was surprised by the small smirk that formed his face. I know that's your way of saying you're proud of me, father. I don't know what brought the change, but I'm glad. With a boost in her confidence due her father's acceptance, she stepped forward. Father, you rest. I will handle them. Hiyashi wasn't expecting this, but seeing what she did to Roba, he couldn't argue. Okay, just show them why the Hyuga is the strongest clan. Hinata nodded. One of the rock shinobi spoke. Hey, stop ignoring us, we came here to kill you. Hinata was smiling. This baffled the shinobi. She wasn't smiling as to taunt them, no, she was happy. Her father had accepted her and showed her some respect. She was truly happy. I will make you proud, father, you too, mother. Hinata took a fighting stance. Now that she had his respect and attention, she would make sure she wouldn't lose it. She would make him proud of her. Smiling, I will make you proud. Somewhere in the village 15 minutes later, the 6 genin ordered to get Hayami and Yumi to safety were moving closer to their location. Not long now and were home free. Ranpu, who was holding Yumi, yelled up, head, watch out. The kunai that came from the left was aimed at Makinu. He jumped over the kunai and watched them pierce the ground below. He landed with Hayami still in his arms. He put her down and pushed her behind him. All of the genin turned to their left to see Kumiko standing a few yards away with a slight smirk. Finally, I caught you guys. Just hand over those two and you won't get killed. Makinu shook his head. No. We have a mission and we're going to complete it or die trying. He readied his hand next to his holster. Ranpu realized the situation. They were going to have to fight. There was no way around it. He whispered so Yugen could hear him. Yugen, that technique you used at the exams, how long it takes to generate? About minute or so. Why? He asked, wondering why he was inquiring about this information. Akuru, Makinu, and I are going to set her up for your attack. To do this she can't see it coming. If she does then it won't work on her. She's a Junin and the only way we stand a chance is working together. Yugen saw through his plan. Okay, but what about Yasumi and Futeki? Don't worry about them, they're going to be on the offensive like us, so the only one who really needs to know and pay attention for when the opportunity presents itself is you. I'll give you the signal, okay? Ranpu stepped close to Makinu. Kumiko directed her comment to Ranpu, formulated a plan. I see, think it's going to work. He shrugged, who knows, want to give it a try. She was going to enjoy killing them to get to Hayami and Yumi. Ranpu glanced at Makinu then at Akuru. The two understood the meaning in the look. Yasumi and Futeki on the other hand were confused. Makinu spoke, Futeki and Yasumi, hang back for a second. Let us handle this, okay? Ranpu was kind of low on chakra, but he figured if he could just hold out enough to get her into position where Yugen could perform his jutsu they would be okay. Doing something that Futeki never thought Ranpu would do, he rushed at the lady. Kumiko was waiting for him to get close, but when he disappeared she wondered what he was planning. When Akuru, who was obviously behind Ranpu, appeared in front of her so sudden. This did catch Kumiko off guard slightly. Using her speed, she swatted Akuru to the side. Sensing Ranpu behind her she kicked him, sending him reeling back. They gave Makinu the opening he needed. Appearing under her, he placed kick in her chin, sending her upward. Kumiko wasn't expecting that. I took my eyes off of him, I underestimated them. That Hyuga kid, he was probably counting on this. He will be the first to go. Makinu appeared behind, you saw it once, now you will see it again. Sorry, but there will be no third. Kumiko disappeared from his view. Makinu eyes widened, what the hell? Everyone was looking up at Makinu. Ranpu was sure that she had underestimated them so much that they could catch her off guard with Makinu. Feeling someone behind him, he jumped away to avoid the kunai. He wasn't so lucky. Kumiko managed to cause a large gash across his torso. Ranpu fell to his knees holding his stomach that was now covered in blood. He glared at her. Shit, I could have been killed if I didn't react fast enough. Even though he was in pain it was well worth it. He glanced at Yugen, who was on her right. Kumiko turned to see Yugen with his hands together smiling at her. Lava consumes all. The ground started to shake underneath her violently. Soon after, it erupted, engulfing her in it. When the geyser of lava died down, Yumi stepped forth to help Ranpu. Are you okay? Somehow, but we still have to get you guys out of here. Ranpu was happy that they tricked her. At least that was done, or so he thought. Looking at Hayami, whose eyes widened while looking at Yugen, he turned around quickly to see Yugen get hit by incoming kunai that pinned him to the wall. Kumiko was standing on a building laughing at their failed attempt. Did you really think I would lose so pathetically, Hyuga? It's clear you are the leader of the squad, but since you and that kid over there with kunai in his shoulders are so injured, I guess these guys will do. Makinu stepped up. Don't underestimate us, the battle isn't over yet. He appeared in front of her, kicking at her head. This was blocked effortlessly. He appeared again on right so fast that if it was a genin it would have connected, but since it wasn't it was blocked and followed by a punch that sent him down to the floor. Futeki watched him cough up blood when his back hit the ground. Going through hand seals as fast as she could, she performed the grand fireball, but it was overrode by water bullets that actually put out the fireball and hit her dead on, causing her to pass out because the impact. Before she passed out she whispered, Maki, Inu. She fell unconscious. Yasumi grabbed a kunai and stood in front of Yumi and Hayami. I will protect you with my life. Akuru appeared next to her. We won't let anything happen to you. Kumoko took steps toward the group. That's not nice, you know. How can you two make a promise you can't keep? Doesn't matter, you will die with them. Yumi looked at Hayami. She grabbed the girl closer to herself. Don't worry, Hayami, I won't let anything happen to you. What about you, Yumi-ne-chan? I don't want anything happening to you. The girl didn't want her to get hurt. Yumi placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't worry about me. It's my job to worry about you, okay? Kumoko was going to enjoy this. She was getting closer, but Makinu appeared in front of her with his arms expand out. This is as far as you go. Ranpu, who was still holding his stomach, Makinu, it's suicide. Shut up, we have to fight until we can't fight no more. I said I wouldn't let anything happen to the girl and the lady there, and I meant it. You're going to have to go through me. Makinu reached in his pouch and threw a handful of shuriken at the lady, who knocked them all away with a kunai. Makinu attacked Kumoko. He was giving it his all and she could see it. Every punch, every kick, and no matter what he did or the variation in which he did it, all were completely blocked or dodged. She was getting tired of this senseless battle. A genin battling a junin, it was laughable. Sidestepping his punch, she chopped him in the neck, causing him to land at her feet. Smiling over him, Kumoko kicked him so hard that he skid across the floor. He came to a stop when he placed his kunai in the ground. Yumi looked at the boy, who was about 20 feet away. She might not have been a ninja, but she knew he couldn't take any more. Ranpu was injured. Futeki regained conscious but couldn't move, and Yugen passed out from the pain in his arms. Looking back at Hayami to see how she was reacting, she saw the little girl hand on her sword. Kumoko turned her attention away from him, ignoring him completely. Her attention was now on Hayami. She continued to walk toward the girl. This caused Yasumi and Akuru to tighten their perimeter around her. Getting closer, the girls gripped their kunai tighter. However, the grip slightly loosened when Makinu appeared in front of them again. Kumoko eyes narrowed. You again. You must really want to die. I'm surprised that Kick didn't kill you, kid. I told you already, I will protect them. It's my mission. Plus I gave my word I would. That was it, he had pissed her off. Kumoko punched him hard in the stomach, causing him to double over. Raising her foot high, she planted it in the back of his head, sandwiching it between her sandal and the ground. She grinded her foot on his head. I will start by killing you since you want to die so much. Kumoko jumped back, avoiding a kunai from hitting her head. Futeki was using everything she had to stand. Get off of him. Kumoko watched the girl fall back to her knees. She focused her attention back on Makinu, but he was no longer in his previous position. She turned to Hayami only to see that he was in front of her and Yumi. Blood was coming from a number of cuts on his face. He was barely standing, but Kumoko couldn't help but see that look in his eyes. It was a look of never giving in. Most shinobi would have broken already, but this bastard kid didn't. Even his friend knew it was suicide. Why didn't he? That look did make it fun for her though. His type realizes when they're near death how hopeless it was. I love that look, can't wait till I see it on him. About 24 shinobi from Cloud, Rain, Rock, and Mist surrounded the genin group. A male Cloud shinobi spoke. Kumoko-san, we are under your control. Special request of Kuin. Okay, but hang back for now. I'm having fun, she said with a sick smile. She raised her hand above her head. I will kill you with this jutsu. I wanted to torture you, but I won't get the chance. Oh well, too bad. Naruto Nisan isn't here. Yumi pulled Hayami close. Yumi pulled out the kunai Naruto gave her. I don't know if you can hear me, but if you can, Naruto, now would be a good time to show up. A big crash was heard throughout the village. Everyone felt the shockwave in the ground. Kumoko and everyone turned to the direction of the big crash. Hyuga compound. Hinata was standing next her father after defeating the last of the shinobi. Many shinobi lay dead, both from the enemy side and the Hyuga clan. Holding her father up as she walked toward the house, both turned toward where the crashing sound came from. Both looked on with bewilderment. In the village, Sasuke and Kadan landed on opposite roofs. Well aware of the other, the two turned to the source of the crash. Sasuke smirked. Show off. Other side of the village. Neji smirked at what he saw. He spoke into his mic. Do you see it, Iron Fist? Lee responded. Yes, I do. Perfect timing, wouldn't you say? Neji responded, perfect indeed. In the woods, Naya was defending herself against a number of shinobi, but a smile graced her face. I couldn't have done it any better myself. Outside of the village, while waiting for the Mizukage to arrive, Kaito was happy to see what he saw. This should be interesting. In the stadium, Kakashi looked on at the cause of the crash. Kakashi thought, you are your father's son. Just when the situation looks hopeless, you show up in the nick of time. I was starting to lose faith that you would make it time. Under his mask he smiled, but I never doubted that you wouldn't come. In the ring, Shikamaru, Anko, and Temari, who had joined them earlier, were all glad at what they saw. Shikamaru especially, troublesome guy. On the roof above the Hokage's observation deck, Tsunade and Aizu was a distance away, both resting on one knee. Aizu watched the cause for the crash. What he saw caused him to say in his head, the wild card. Tsunade was shocked, happy, and mad all at the same time. But she was glad. I knew you would come. In front of the stadium, standing on the head of a frog were two figures. One was a female and the other was a young man with a black bandana with orange ends on the top and bottom. This matched the black track jacket with an orange collar and bottom. Black sweats and sandals made up the clothes, but the two swords, one in his hand with the blade resting on his back neck, and the other with the angel wing cross guard rested on his back in its sheaths. The outfit was now complete. Looking down, scanning the area, the male spoke. It seems we're a little late for the party. I see a lot of Suna, Leaf, Waterfall, and Grass shinobi dead, far more than from the enemy. Well, I guess we better lend our hand. What do you say, Rin? The male asked. I say you should have worn the cape that I gave you. Rin said while pouting. Still mad over that? That's too old-fashioned, Rin. Besides, I'm sure it's been done already. Naruto said. It still would have been cool. Rin whispered to herself. Are you ready, Rin? Naruto asked, bringing her back from her thoughts. Rin nodded in agreement. Let's go, Naruto. Hokage Monument. Kuin was sitting on top of the monument. When he saw Naruto on Gamabunta, a smirk formed on his face. Welcome back, Uzumaki Naruto. He was glad that the person he waited for was back. It wouldn't be long now. One thing was for sure, Naruto was in the leaf once again. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.